Where you see it says Table Talk, that's now. Before we do that, let me open us in a word of prayer. Father, thank you for this morning and the opportunity to gather together and dream and plan and anticipate the things that you want to do. I pray that you would open up our hearts and minds and give us entrepreneurial, dreaming ideas and thoughts as we prepare today. Speak to us, begin to show us where we fit in the body, confirm who it is you've made us to be, and may this be a great morning together. Thank you for all of those that are here today, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so if you look at the thinner of the two packets that you were given, on the first page after the cover, it says Table Talk. And I'm going to need you to do two things here. The first thing, and is going to be very important because you're going to give this to us later, is somewhere at the top, write your name down and your contact information and make sure that we can read it. All right? So maybe even ask the person next to you, can you read this? All right? And then what I would like you to do there is I would like you to put a kind of a series of things, and the little lines on the far left are for the instructions that are in italics. But I would like you to write down a list of ministries or teams that you are either currently serving in, have served in the past, either in this church or another church, or you would like to serve in. So just kind of make a list of ministries that or teams that you have been part of in a church, you are part of now, you would like to be a part of, and you could put a list of things also that you have done in the past, but you don't want to do them again. Okay? And this is actually good information for us to have. And you'll see there in italics that after you've made your list, put a star next to the area that you maybe serve in now. Place a triangle next to an area that you don't serve in now, but you have in the past. Put an X next to the one that you've served in the past, but you don't want to serve in again. Or maybe you're not able to serve in again. Perhaps you played center for the basketball team, and now you're 112 years old and you don't play basketball anymore, okay? So you've done it, but you're not doing it again, all right? You understand? And then place a exclamation point down to a ministry that perhaps you're not involved in, but you would like to be involved in, all right? And this is all going to be helpful information. So if you were center on the basketball team, but you're unable to play anymore, we might have some questions for you at some point when we put together our basketball team. In other words, that's kind of my point of having you put down things. And it also keeps us from asking you to do something when we know you've told us, I'm not doing that, so don't ask me. Okay? So that's your beginning time right now. So begin to do that so write down ministries that you've been a part of, you are a part of, you'd like to be a part of. Is that all clear? On your mark? Cool. All right. There you go. Okay. So, Table Talk 2. These verses, hang on. Yes. So the one that says Table Talk on it, make sure you put your contact information on that. And we're moving down into our slot, so we're now actually ahead of time, that says Vision and Mission Discussion. And I would say if you want to jot some things down in the assignment I'm about to give you, you can do it on the back of the vision page or the mission page, or you should have some notes pages toward the back that are blank. There you go. The last page is blank. So I want you to go to Matthew 28, 18 to 20. Also jot down Isaiah 61, 1 through 9. Right here, I'm writing it down up here. So I'm writing down what I'm telling you right now here. And the Isaiah 61 passage is also then a companion passage in Luke 4, 16 to 19. And what I'd like you to do, take about 10 minutes, and then we're going to come back to it, is when you read these two verses, particularly Matthew 28 and these two passages, what is jumping out? What is God saying to us? And a couple of tables that have smaller numbers of people, if you want some interaction with some other folks on this, you might want to switch around a bit and get in a group where a discussion can happen here. But there's some key things in these that need to drive the rest of our conversation. And so I want to give you 10 minutes to start that conversation. I'm going to come back and talk, and then I'm going to let you give and take with me. I'm going to do the least amount of just me talking today than what I would normally do. I want to hear from you, and I want us to interact with these things. So look at those, jot some things down, talk about some of that. What are the key things that you're seeing, and how does it relate to us here in Ferguson? And so start that on your mark, set, go. Okay. So we're going to come back. We're going to come to that, but let me lay the groundwork and some of this stuff I filled in the other day and did not go back and look, and so I love that that office is telling me I think you've got something missing here, and yeah, because I should have put to do right there, and would not do again. It's asking me to put a punctuation there, I guess, but does not matter. So vision and mission. Just to be clear, we've talked about some of this stuff, but it's kind of one of those things. I remember Bill McCartney, who coached Colorado back in their championship days, used to say, you tell them what you want them to do, you show them what you want them to do, and then you tell them 1,000 times more. And so as and I love the fact that when I said Bill McCartney, none of you perked up except for Mark at the back, because he grew up in Denver and in Colorado. So when I said Bill McCartney, you were like, All right. He was, if you don't know, that was also the guy that founded Promise Keepers back in the day. So let's talk about vision and mission. Let me, hang on one second. So I'm having to do this one over here off my phone. And so I gave it to you so you can kind of keep up with us, but I didn't want you to, I want to get from you before I show you the answer that's already there. So vision and mission, we talk about this all the time, and in business circles, these two words often get used interchangeably, and so it just depends on which school you came from. And Tim, when I went to the military community, I had always used mission for the big picture and vision for the small picture. And when I went into a military community, we were talking about some of this stuff the first time, and one of my colonels said, Pastor, listen, you do whatever you want to do. You're the leader, and we'll follow you. But just so that you know, in our community, vision is the big picture and mission is the objective, and we'll understand it more quickly if you want to switch to that. So I did, and I've done it that way ever since. So, and I like it actually better that way, because vision, so yeah, see I wrote over here, vision is what we see, mission is what we do, okay? So the vision is the picture, and I would add to that I think the vision side of it is something that we will never accomplish. We're always moving toward it. It's something big enough that we won't ever get all the way there, but we know what it looks like, and we're trying to get there. And I call it the carrot on the stick. Okay? So vision is carrot on the stick. And so another thing that I like to do in mission and vision is I like some key words, usually 3, no more than 4 key words in each one of those. So we have 6 words that are going to drive everything we talk about today. And hopefully you've been hearing these from me over and over again. So I'm curious to you, those 3 words, there's 3 words for vision, there's 3 words mission, and 3 for vision. And I'm curious if you remember what those 3 words are. We say them all the time, but I'm curious, what are the 3 words for vision? They all sound similar. They have a similar ending to them. All right, it's okay. Family, glory, story. So if you write those words down under vision, so you got a page there, you got a note page there for vision. So go to the note page, it's about the 3rd or 4th page in your sheet there. There's a page for you to write notes about vision. All right, it's your 3rd page, page 3. Family, glory, story. You'll see an F, a G, and an S. If you had seen that, you might have been able to get started there. So you see family, glory, and story. Now, when we define that, what kind of family? We got godly over here, and I don't disagree with that. But what we say in our vision statement is a diverse family. Okay? Sometimes we think about family and we just, well, everybody is the same, or everybody came from the same. Well, that may be some families, but we're trying to create a diverse family, and then we are right out displaying the glory of God. And then we are declaring, and I didn't leave myself enough room there, but we are declaring His story and our story. All right? A diverse family of, now you said godly, because we are a diverse family of Christ followers. Displaying God's glory and declaring His story and our story as it interacts with His story. Okay? And so that's the vision we see. As you know, a lot of churches want a place, and they may not actually say they want this, but it's what they've done, is they just want a place where everybody looks the same. And I often hear, well, this is what we do. Okay. Well, this is what we do. Okay. We are a diverse family of Christ followers. I mean, we got people here that like the Cardinals, and we got people here that like the Dodgers, and we got people here that like Mizzou, and people here that like Ohio State, and we got people here that like all kinds of other stuff. You know, my guy that you hear me refer to, General Hurlburt, you know, he and I today are more diverse than other days because he's from Notre Dame. And Notre Dame plays Ohio State today at 6:30. All right, so, and there are Michigan Wolverines in the room, and we're praying for them. And but God can bring that together, is my point. So a diverse family of Christ followers, because what we have in common is we're Christ followers. We're going to talk about that more in a minute when we talk about the vision that we have. But a diverse family of Christ followers displaying God's glory. And glory, it's important for us to get this. You've been hearing this from me again and again. Glory, the Hebrew word is kabod, the Greek word is doxa. And together those things are about reputation. It's not just, we think of glory as just this shining thing, and it is, but what is it shining, okay? The kabod comes from a word that means heaviness, weight, okay? And so when we talk about glory, we're talking about God's reputation. And so we're a diverse family of Christ followers displaying God's reputation. Is that important? Yes. So it's important what we do, because we are displaying the reputation of God. And the question is, are we doing that well? And if we're not, then we have to adjust the things that we do. That means we can't just do what we want and act how we want and be how we want. And we got to watch what we say on social media, and we got to watch because we're displaying the glory of God. And Jesus came to display the glory of God in grace and truth. And a lot of folks on social media want to do one or the other, but they don't do the whole thing. And our job is to display the grace and truth. That's what Jesus came in. John 1:14. If you don't know that reference, I'll give it to you right there. John 1:14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld the glory of God, full of grace and truth. How much grace and truth? Full. All right? Some of the graceless people I see nowadays are people that are, I'm just telling you the truth. Okay, but you can tell me the truth, or you can tell me the truth. All right? So, full of grace and truth. So, vision then is we're a diverse family of Christ followers. Say it with me. We're a diverse family of Christ followers, displaying the glory of God and declaring His story. And our story, there you go. Because that's the thing. Everybody's like, well, that's all nice and everything. What does that do for me? So when we're talking about vision and mission, that's where it starts for us, then is telling His story. So then let's go to that part on mission. And we'll come back to this in a minute because I want to come back to those verses and I want to get your input on that. So when we're talking about mission, what are the three words? This ought to be easier. What are they? Come on. See, I didn't give them to you there because I didn't give you the first letters like I often do. Come on now. Love. What's the next one? You've been saying these in your mission statement even before I was here. You used these two. Love, serve, and the last one starts with a T. Transform. So we love, we serve, and seek transformation. Transform. I forget where I have told these things that happened in recent days, but I'll say it here again because it's worth saying and because the person that said it asked me to tell your people. When Lenny and Lisa and myself and Rick Brockmeyer were out with the city of Ferguson handing out backpacks and all that kind of stuff on Labor Day weekend, or the weekend before that, I guess it was. No. Anyway, it was in August. When we were doing that, there was a man that I'd never met, and he's part of a action committee in the area that does racial reconciliation and community engagement, and just went around and met him at his booth, and we were passing out sandwiches over there, and we had, with NAM's help, had provided the backpacks that they were handing out, and he said, "You're the pastor at First Baptist Ferguson?" I said, "Well, yes, I am. This is my wife." He said, "You are transfiguring Ferguson." I know. I said, "You have no idea what you just said to me." And I mean, it was all I could do not to cry right there. And he said, "You tell your people, they may not know it, but you are transfiguring Ferguson." We got a long way to go, but that tells me that we're moving in that direction and people are seeing it. And so vision is big, fluffy, always out in front of us, never going to get there, but mission is measurable and attainable. Okay? You don't have a military mission objective that you won't know if you got there. You've got one out there, and people get frustrated sometimes because in the first Gulf War, people got frustrated because they wanted it to go farther, but what was said was, but that wasn't our objective. This was our objective. We did that. We completed that. We could talk about whether or not the objective was big enough or whether then they should have restarted now once they'd completed that, but that's a different story. The question is, what's our thing? And so it should be measurable and attainable. We should know. Doesn't mean that once we get a level of it, we're done, but it does mean we should be able to measure whether we're doing that. And that's going to come back very important in the conversation we're going to have here in a few minutes when we talk about some of our groups of things that we're going to be doing. But love, serve, and transform. And by the way, you'll see on your notes there, the same thing being repeated over and over again. So we love God. We love one another, and we love our community, all right? And we serve what? God, and we serve one another, and we serve and we're going to seek transformation from God, all right? God does that in us. That's your first line there. And then we're seeking transformation in one another, and that's a whole, you know what? Because if we're a diverse family, we're not one another, but we're seeking transformation to becoming one another. I think we called that a culture of, okay. Yeah, we spent a little bit of time there. So we're trying to be a culture of we. That's transformation, because we'd like to be culture of me, myself, and I. And if you want to be like me, myself, and I, then I'll let you in. Well, no, we become a we, all right? So we're seeking to do that, and that's part of the transformation, but there's a bigger piece then of that transformation so let me get over here. So we're a diverse family of Christ followers. Love God, love our community, love one another, serve God, our community, one another. We use the term serve and do, but we have to know then the needs and the dreams and the desires and seek to fill them. And I say that because a lot of times you ask churches, tell me about your service, and they'll tell you all the stuff they do. And I say, tell me how you're serving your community. Well, we do this and this and this and this. Yeah, but your community, does it need those things? Well, that's what we do. You understand where I'm going? If we don't know what our community needs, we may be doing all kinds of stuff, but we're not serving. You go to a restaurant and you order a filet mignon. I know you don't. See, Desi doesn't eat meat. And so I could bring you a beautiful, medium, rare ribeye, and it would be perfect. Would you like it? Would you eat it? Did I serve you? No, I did something for you, but I didn't serve you. What's your favorite thing to eat?
I don't know, man, because I eat whatever I put together, basically.
Okay.
I don't have no favorite thing no more.
What do you order in a restaurant?
Salad.
All right, so big with all the. And what's your favorite dressing?
Italian.
What's your least favorite dressing?
Vinegar, not vinegar red, but that start with a B, basil, all that, something like that.
Balsamic.
Yeah.
So I bring you a salad with balsamic vinegar on it, and you say, well, could I get some vinaigrette? And well, no, we're not doing that today. I didn't serve you, did I? Okay. If you bring me a steak and you bring it to me well done, oh, I won't eat it. I can't. I might as well take my shoe off and just rip the bottom of it off and try to eat that, Oh, yeah, put some tomatoes on it. Again, you're not serving me, are you? Okay? See, and you would have to, if you don't know, I don't like tomatoes. Now, I like tomato sauce, but I don't like tomatoes. I like pickles, but I don't like cucumbers. And so, you can do stuff for me and not serve me. Doesn't matter how beautiful you make it, but you didn't serve me if you don't know my needs and my dreams and my desires and seek to fill that. So when we say love and serve, we need to know one another. We need to know God. Tim and Gail, Lisa and I were talking yesterday about the way we pray. And when we pray, we need to be asking God, what is it that you want us to do? And do that. In 1 John, it says, if you ask of God and the Spirit does not convict you, in other words, the Spirit of God, when you pray, will affirm the plans of God. And sometimes, I don't know about you when you pray, but sometimes I'm praying for something and God's Spirit says, we're not doing that. Oh, but it would be so good. Okay, great, but we're not doing that. Now I have an option. Do I want to serve God or do I want to do things for God? Is there a difference? There is a big difference. So if I'm going to serve God, I need to know what God is doing, what God is dreaming, what God is planning. Because, by the way, God's going to do the stuff God's going to do. The question is, do we get to be a part of it or not? And that comes back to, do we love, serve? And then transform. Now, here's this piece, and I put a little bit out. So there's a deeper part of transformation that we want to happen. So, from seeker, if you want to write these down, this is the transformation we want to see happening on the spiritual side here in our community through us, is we want to see from, seeker to believer to worshiper to disciple and then this is one thing here, servants and missionaries. When we get down to transformation, this is what we want to see happening. And I will tell you that I think a lot of times churches focus on the middle two and don't do the first two. And they wonder why they're struggling so much. Well, because you don't make a place where seekers feel like they can come and seek. You want everybody to be already disciples and worshipers. And I think this is a clear process that you see in the people that came around Jesus in the New Testament. Is you got some people that just coming, they're looking, they're asking. Some of them don't stay. Master, what do I have to do to have eternal life? And Jesus says, well, if you want to do something, what does it say to do? Well, it says to, and he starts listing the commands and he goes, do that and you'll live. Knowing he couldn't do that. That man went away sad because he didn't want to go. Jesus told him what to do, sell everything you have and come follow me. And by the way, it wasn't that he needed to sell the stuff, but the stuff was getting in the way of him following Jesus. And so Jesus says, get rid of the stuff and follow me. Follow me was the thing. But he went from seeker and he left. But there ought to be a place for seekers to come. Listen to me. We don't have time. I'm not going to spend any time here. But this ought to be a place where people that have vastly different points of view than you and I do on important issues to us still can come to this place seeking truth. And they will be loved and respected and treated well as long as it is not a dangerous situation. Okay? And so there ought to be people that come to our church that have a different view of marriage, that have a different view of lifestyles than we do, seeking truth. There's a difference between seeking and being a member and being a teacher and being a leader, okay? There's a difference, all right? So from seeker to believer. Okay, I'm not this, and this yet, but I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. We want to get them from there to there. And that's when they become worshiper. You mean they can't sing until they get there? Who said that worship was singing? Singing can be worship, but you understand worship is saying you are God. I worship you and God alone. And I worship you. I lift you up. I glorify you. I magnify you. That's what worship is. Worship is an expression of adoration to the object of our affection. So they've gone from being a seeker and a believer to becoming someone that's in love with Jesus and learning what that means. And then they learn to walk with Jesus and walk like Jesus. They learn to deny self and follow him. And guess what? If you're a disciple, you become a servant and a missionary. You become a person driven. Now, do people that are seekers serve people? Sure. But we're getting to a place where these things become lifestyle. All right? And so that's where we're headed. That's our vision and mission. And this is important for us to see everything else, and where we're getting ready to get to with the bigger conversation is in this. And I want us to get to that. But I'm going to need your help to do that. So let me see how we're doing on our time here. I'm right on the money of where and by the way, community transformation, when we talk about serving, transforming by God, one another, and the community, for me to define community transformation, obviously if this kind of thing happens, it's going to change our community. The more people that go through this, the more our community is going to change. But also in community transformation, I also picture relationship assistance and compassion and concern and care, those things becoming part of what we do in our community. And there are things that we can do in our community with other churches and with other non-churches. If we share the same compassion for people, we can feed people and they don't have to even know Jesus, right? And we can feed other people with people, even if they don't claim Jesus as their Lord. And so there are things that we can do in our community. We can hand out backpacks to kids, and we can do things like that, and we should be doing those things, and that's community transformation. It's about becoming a we in the sense of community as well as a we in the sense of our church. And so the more we can get there as a community and us be a part of that process, that's what we're trying to do. So 3 words and 3 words. What's the 3 vision words? Family, glory, story. All right. Notice, remember, I'm a songwriter, and so they kind of rhyme together. Family, glory, story. All right. And then the other 3, mission. All right. Lock those things in your mind. Say them over and over again. When people say, "What are you doing at First Baptist Ferguson?" you could say, family, glory, story, love, serve, transform. And I guarantee you, people are going to connect with those things. They may define it differently than you. That's fine. Okay, we're going to define it, and so we can work it together, but they will relate to it. Family. So that glory. Oh, story. What kind of story are you telling? Oh, I'm glad you asked. You got a minute? Okay. And then love, serve, transform. Love one another, love God, love our community. All right. Serve one another, serve God, serve our community. See transformation from God in our relationships, one another, and throughout our community. And so we want to see those things happen. Yes?
I came up with something.
Sure.
We say love, story, and love.
Serve and transform. Uh-huh.
I got it as last. That's how I can remember it. Last, make something last. So love and serve and transform. So that'll help me. I don't know if that'll help anybody else. Like I have to remember something.
Yep.
Help me remember that.
Exactly. It's a memory tool for sure. So that's what we're seeking to do. Now, what did you get? I'll take just a couple of minutes here. Those verses I had you to look at. When you come back to this, that we've just looked at, where does Matthew 28, 18 through 20, we always want to focus on 19 and 20, but what does verse 18 say? All authority is given to me in heaven and earth. Right. In case you hadn't heard, Jesus says, I'm the boss. It seems like somebody last week, we were looking at that the beginning of spiritual warfare is knowing who's in charge. And it's not you. Okay? What? You're not in my house then. Okay. Time and a place for everything, right? All right. So he's in charge. He's given us a mission. By the way, Matthew 28, 18 to 20, along with Acts 1:8, I'll put that there beside it. Not 1 through 8, but what 1, 8. That's the command. That's the mission of every church. We are articulating it in a way that we can understand it. And then Isaiah 61, 1 through 8, Jesus in Luke 4 reads from that exact passage and says, by the way, just so you know, this was fulfilled today. And they were like, wait, what? What? So we're to make disciples. Whoops. Look at that. See? All right. All right. That was wild. All right. Let me go back to where we were. So we're to make disciples. Where? Everywhere. All right. We'll talk about that more in a minute. What's the key things that jumped out of Isaiah 61 in this prophecy about what the Messiah would do? All right. So I got good news. I got free captives. What else? Yeah. And by the way, bind up does not mean tie up. It means bandage. All right? Broken-hearted. What else?
Backing up to verse 1, the Spirit of the Lord is on me.
What was that?
Make covenants.
Make covenants. What else? What? Yeah, so we got, and that those things go together there. So we're proclaiming liberty, freeing captives. What else? We don't know any places that need any of that, do you? But Lisa and I were driving down West Florissant the other day and noticed there just above the Delwood Center, that shopping center there has now all new stuff, and they're all community related going in, and we were so excited. There's a new sign that goes the entire length of it that shows about 7 things that are going in there. Very exciting to see. That's one of the sad things for us coming back 10 years gone, is to see all the stuff just down, closed, empty. And so that was very exciting for us to see. So rebuilding. What else? I think it said something about blind seeing. Anything else? What else? Anything else? Did we get it all? All right, so keep that in your forefront. If we're gonna be a family displaying the glory of God, telling His story, our story, we're gonna love, serve, transform. This is it. And when Jesus then comes, He says, by the way, this is what I'm here to do. Oh, we did miss one. Proclaim that this is the year of the Lord's favor. One of the great things that we can be doing is saying, listen, God is for you, Ferguson. God is for you, North County. God is for you, St. Louis. And as long as it is today, there is an opportunity for the Lord's favor. All right? Day after tomorrow never comes. The deal is sealed. Whatever it is, wherever we are, then eternity is ended, or has entered, that our opportunity has entered to change that. So you've jotted some of that stuff down, so keep that in front of you. I want to talk, and then, so most of my talking is up front, and then I'm going to divide you up into some more groups, and I want you to talk with one another about what we're going to see happen here. Let's talk a little bit about sort of and by the way, this is not completed stuff. This is where we would like to go. Every church kind of has 5 areas that they should be operating in. And I'm going to put these here, and I'm not putting these in any sense of order of what's more important or not, but we ought to be doing worship, and we ought to be doing fellowship, and we ought to be doing outreach and service. I put those 2 things together. And we ought to be doing evangelism / missions. And we do discipleship. Those things, every church has to be doing all of those 5 things. Those are kind of the key 5 aspects of church life and ministry. What often happens in our churches is put the staff, or the staff and deacons, or the staff deacons and elders, or the staff deacons, elders, and the leaders, however you want to define all of those things, they're up here, and then everything else is down here. Okay? And it just flows down from them, and you do what they're saying to do, and they tell you everything, and if it gets accomplished, great, but it's still coming top down. I want to get us out of that. I want to get us more to where the vision and the mission drives us, but then within these, and here's the term that you're going to see, and we're going to talk more in a minute. These are groups of teams. Because what I want to get us to is in least common denominator kind of ministry. In other words, I want to get people together doing the things that are common to them, that are reflected by their spiritual gifts, their passions, their style, their experience, and even their vocational experience. The things that they've been put together by God to do. I want to get them into teams that fit into groups that help us do the vision and the mission. Let's see those things accomplished in us. And so we're going to, that's not going to do anything. And so within each of those areas, then we see teams structured in there. And even in these areas, there will be an elder or another leader that will be given responsibility over each of those 5 areas, but it's not their job to do it all. It's just their job to help the teams that then are grouped within their group to then accomplish their job, and each ones that are in those teams then carry those things out. So the infrastructure that we want to see raised up, and this is going to be very important to what we start here today and move in that direction, will be 5 basic groups of teams. Now, there are 2 things that you will not see listed in this, but are still vital to everything else. One of those is an administrative group, and that's, you've got elders and you've got trustees and you've got deacons that will fall in there. Staff, they fall in there, but they're not in this, but each one of those people are fitting into one of these as well. And then the other one is kind of its own thing out here, and I'll put it down here at the bottom because it is foundational. And that is a prayer team. This is not its own group out here like these are. It's a prayer team. And interestingly, and I'll just do this just as a way to maybe drive that point home. Okay, I divided those letters out into 5, all right? Point being this, that one person from the prayer team is going to be assigned to each group. And their job is to be a part of that group and be praying with that group and finding out what the teams are praying for and coming back to the prayer team so that together they can be praying for the things that are needed in the groups. And so a foundational here in this prayer team is that they then become part of everything else that's going on and undergird that with prayer. And so that obviously means that prayer team is going to have to have at least 5 members, because there's got to be at least one person attached to each of these, but we want more than that, obviously. And they will meet regularly on their own to pray about the things that the groups are praying for, and the groups are reflecting a grouping of teams. And so we want to see those things happening and being achieved. In the worship, you could also call that, if you will, a Sunday experience. We have, I'm going to switch to this. We have in the office. There's if you haven't been in the office lately and you get a chance someday when it's open and you go in there, there's a written on the wall. We've been storyboarding and we've been working elders wise over the last months, and you'll see now what you see here is not an end of the story. It's just stuff that we wrote down. Like, what are the things we're doing now or should be doing, and where do they fit in the groups? And so under worship or Sunday experience, we've got music band, we've got welcome, music and praise band, that should go together. And then a welcome team, the tech team, any kind of setup and takedown, any kind of decorations that need to happen. Those things all would fall into, least common denominator is, those are worship-related experiences. And so under the service and outreach side, we put some of the things we're doing now as well as things we might do, and that, pantry and widows and orphans ministry and eyeglass and funerals and benevolence and homeless warming centers and rides to church and parenting and marriage opportunities that we have and can have. Not all of these we're doing actively right now. City of events, neighborhood events, North County, thinking about the Engage group and things like that. And then our deacons really obviously drive a lot of, and can and should drive a lot of what we do. Discipleship side. I just realized, oh no, it's there. Never mind. Okay, I thought I'd left one out. All right, discipleship side. What's happening in Sunday Bible studies? We'd like to see home Bible studies developed that could happen any day of the week, and so especially some of you maybe that live a little further out, and you say, well, I don't get here in time to have a Bible study. Okay, great. Would you host a group in your home on a Tuesday night or on a Saturday morning or on a Thursday night or whatever it is? We can facilitate that, want to facilitate that. It's one of our desires that we'd like to see happen. Youth and children are in the flow class, the kind of 101 precept. We'd like to see mentoring and age and experience going on. And then assessment, we're going to do some of that today. Assessment and then alignment happens in discipleship. And then on the fellowship side, community groups and prayer and men's events and women's events and meals and gatherings, all of those things happen within the fellowship, and there's plenty of other things that can go on. But the idea being that all of these things, Who's that guy? All right. So took that picture yesterday at Tim and Gail's place. And those 5 areas then have those things going on within them. And we want to facilitate that. So what I like to do, let me make sure I haven't. Yeah, so we're going to, hang on. All right. 5 minutes. If you need to use a restroom or whatever, 5 minutes. How many minutes? 5 minutes. Do that, get a refill or whatever. Yeah, not 5 minutes, but 5 minutes. So that's 5 minutes and 5 minutes. All right, so I was trying to communicate. Yes, all right. Yes. Yeah, I'm such a communicator that sometimes this gets me in trouble. I jumped out of an airplane at 14,500 feet, and I got my hands like this, and I'm trying to tell them in the loud environment that I was at 7,000 feet. And I went, 7,000 feet. Problem is when you're flying at 120 miles an hour and you pull a hand out, fortunately I had 2 guys falling with me and they stabilized me. All right, so 5, go. All right. If you can take your spot and go ahead and come on back in. Take out your larger handout. Take out your larger handout. That's right. Got some fellowship going on. That's good. No, I said you've got some fellowship going on right now. But so, little hint. Here comes the tedium. Okay, so a few minutes of tedium. But we're doing it this way with you so that you can be the foundation for what others are going to do. This will be available very soon up on our website, so people will be able to do that. But what we want to be able to say is we've already got 30 people that have filled this out. And so we want to get to a place where when we have a ministry need, a team need, that we're able to look at a file that we have that says, okay, well, I need a people that has a spiritual gift in X, that has an experience in Y, and has a passion about Z. And we're like, oh, yeah, I got that person. Here they are. And Shape Profile is one that Saddleback used for years, and we've borrowed their spiritual gifts assessment. There's a Gene Wilkes, who was a pastor in the Plano area of Dallas, is now president of a seminary there in the area. He developed there's another way of acrostic acronym called SERVE that we will use more in depth. But I want us to do the spiritual gifts one first, and then I'll tell you about the disc profile that you have in there, which is also a part of that process. But here's the thing. Don't overthink this, all right? So I'm going to just read each one of these. We're just going to take a minute and go through this. I'm going to read each one of these, and you just mark anything between 1 and 5. 1 meaning, nope, that's not really me. 5 meaning, yep, that's me all the way. All right, so whatever number in your mind with each of these statements comes up, just put the number down. Don't overthink it. Don't wonder where I'm going with it. Just put it down, and you'll probably get the right answer by doing that. You'll be able to see it. So, I am willing, and yes, sir.
We just change the circle or what?
Correct. So put any sort of mark on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll help us think through the first one. After that, I'm just going to read each one, and you just put a mark that seems like the right mark for you. So on the first one, it says, I am willing and able to learn executive skills such as planning, organizing, and delegating. If that's absolutely you all the time, write a 5. If that's not you at all any of the time, write a 1. If it's you somewhere in between, then put the number that seems natural, okay? All right? And we're going to do that on each one of these, and you're going to jot them down, and when we're done, you'll end up with an image of possibly how the Lord has shaped you spiritually, okay? And by the way, spiritual gifts profile is focused on the service gifts that are identified in Scripture. And so there are other things that God can spiritually gift us to do, and some of them are expressed in Scripture and some are not. But this is focused on the serve gifts, so that as we talk about serving in ministry teams, we can figure out where we might fit, okay? So I'm willing and able to learn executive skills such as planning, organizing, and delegating. Where do you fit 1 through 5 in that? Just put a mark there. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Don't change it. Just put it down. Number 2, I do well in evaluating results from studies on the effectiveness of a major church program. Stay right in this and don't disturb anybody else. Stay right in the midst of this. This is important stuff. All right, number 3. I am able to organize ideas, people, things, and time for more effective ministry. I am able to organize ideas, people, things, time for more effective ministry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 4, I am able to lead a committee or a group in making decisions together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being highest, 1 being lowest. Number 4. No, that was number 4. Number 5. I am able to recruit Christians to express their strengths or fits in service. I am able to recruit Christians to express their strengths or fits in service. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, I am effective in delegating responsibility to others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 7, I am able to plan action goals for ministry with others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am able to plan action goals for others. Number 8, I can win wide acceptance from church members for major changes involving effective procedures. I can win wide acceptance from church members for major changes involving effective procedures. Number 9, I am warm towards and cooperate in my church's foreign mission emphasis. I am warm towards and cooperate in my church's foreign mission emphases. Number 10, I am frustrated when there is little opportunity to minister to those of different customs or languages. I'm frustrated when there's little opportunity to minister to others, to those of different customs and languages. Number 11, I am concerned to take part in starting a new local church. I am concerned to take part in starting a new local church. I'm going to sit down. I'm concerned to be a part of starting another church. No, that's a good question. No, I think it means I have interest in it. I think so. Yes. Yeah. No. Not I. Yeah. That's a good question. Some of this wording is probably 15 years old, so the way we use the word is different. That's a good clarification. Number 12, I desire to serve in a cross-cultural situation. Number 13, I enjoy soul winning or witnessing in an unfamiliar setting. Number 14, I adapt well in a different culture in order to evangelize, to minister the word, or to be a support person to such ministers. I adapt well in a different culture in order to evangelize, to minister, or to support persons, to be a support person to such ministers. Number 15, I have or could learn another language well enough to help start a church. Number 16, I am able to help in starting churches in a different language and culture. Number 17, there are times I sense that a particular teaching is unbiblical. There are times I sense that a particular teaching is unbiblical. Number 18, I receive affirmation from mature Christians that I am able to distinguish spiritual untruth from supernatural insight. I receive affirmation from mature Christians that I'm able to distinguish spiritual untruth from supernatural insights. Number 19, I am able to differentiate between demonic influence and mental illness. I am able to differentiate between demonic influence and mental illness. Number 20, I see the difference between truth and error. Number 21, I judge well between the inadequate and acceptable, or between evil and good. I judge well between inadequate and acceptable, or between evil and good. Number 22, I have insights that help me discern any error in a biblical interpretation given by someone else, by another. Number 23. Yeah, if you missed it, just pick up there and then you can go back and fill the others in later. Number 23, I am able to identify that which is false to Christ's teachings. I am able to identify that which is false to Christ's teaching. Number 24, I can see through phonies before their falseness is clearly evident to others. I can see through phonies before their falseness is clearly evident to others. Number 25, I enjoy sharing the message of the gospel as I understand it. I enjoy sharing the message of the gospel as I understand it. Number 26, I wish to relate to non-Christians so I can share my faith. Number 27, I am at ease in sharing how Christ is my Savior and Lord. Number 28, I am concerned to communicate my personal relationship with Christ to others.
Again,
Yes.
meeting that concern meeting.
I desire that. Yes, yes, yes. That's important to me. Concern means is important to me. Yes, yes. I enjoy, number 29, I enjoy being an instrument of God in drawing the net, or closing the net, if you will, so that unbelievers receive Christ as Savior. Number 30, I share joyfully what Christ has done for me. Number 31, unbelievers understand when I explain what it means that Jesus is the Christ. Unbelievers understand when I explain what it means that Jesus is the Christ. Number 32, I would remain spiritually strong in the company of unbelievers and would use every opportunity to win some to Christ. Notice that. I would remain spiritually strong in the company of unbelievers and would use every opportunity to win some to Christ. Number 33, I am accepting of persons deeply troubled or in crisis. By the way, let me point out something here that hopefully you've already noticed, but where this list falls, sometimes your mark should go under, your mark should go underneath the number. There was one page here that I noticed had, like number 10 has one above it and one below it, but you get to number 11 on the next page, You just make sure that you're marking for the one that was above it, all right? Because it's not going to score correctly, right? The other way. So, all right? There at the top, 23 had one above it and below it, and so that one above it should go to 22 on the page before. Okay? Yep. Just wanted to make sure. I just saw that there. So the 1 through 5 at the top of the page above 23 should go for question number 22 before it. I'll give you a second if you need to adjust that. So we just said number 33, I'm accepting of persons deeply troubled or in crisis. Number 34, next page, I am sensitive and sympathetic to persons who seem to be suffering or mentally ill. I am sensitive and sympathetic to persons who seem to be suffering or mentally ill. Number 35, I am willing to be called alongside another person seeking my encouragement, challenge, or advice. I am willing to be called alongside another person seeking my encouragement, challenge, or advice. Number 36, I have compassion toward those who are brokenhearted, addicted, or oppressed. Number 37, I verbally encourage the weak, the wavering, or the troubled. I encourage the weak, wavering, or troubled. Number 38, I verbally challenge the spiritually apathetic. In other words, I say something to the person that is doing nothing. Number 39, I would feel comfortable being an instrument for dislodging the complacent and redirecting the wayward in face-to-face encounters. Number 40, I am able to counsel effectively the perplexed, guilty, or addicted. Obviously, this person is not convicted of the Oxford comma, but which I am. But anyway, all right. Number 42, just a little moment of lightness there. I have assurance that God answers prayer. Number 41. Number 42, I feel joy in persisting in prayer for specific needs. I feel joy in persisting in prayer for specific needs. Number 43, I depend upon God's resources and guidance to an unusual degree. I'm comfortable around people who pray. Number 44, I'm comfortable around people who pray a lot for others. And number 45, I trust in the presence and power of God for the apparently impossible. And that answer would come on the next page. I trust in the presence and power of God for the apparently impossible. Number 46, I have a conviction that God is active in my daily affairs. I have conviction that God is active in my daily affairs. Number 42, I believe God will keep his promise. I'm sorry, 47, thank you. 47, I believe God will keep his promises in spite of circumstances. Number 48, I have received from God an unusual assurance that he would fulfill some purpose. 49, I feel deeply moved when confronted with the urgent financial crisis or financial need of others. I feel deeply moved when confronted with a urgent financial need of others. Number 50, I am willing to maintain a lower standard of living to benefit God's word. Number 51, I consider all that I own or am as resources for stewardship to God. Number 52, I am concerned or passionate or driven that the money I give be used as efficiently as possible for God. Number 53, I give cheerfully that God's work be extended and helped. Number 54, I give things freely and with delight because I love God. Number 55, I am able to earn much money for giving to the Lord's work. I am able to earn much money for giving to the Lord's work. Number 56, I manage money well in order to give liberally to God's work. Number 57, of course, the answer will be on the next page. I get much satisfaction from hosting persons who need ministry at my home. Number 58, I am comfortable with opening my home to others regardless of how neat or clean it is. I am willing, number 59, to use my home furnishings and personal belongings to serve others outside my immediate family. Number 60, I take pleasure with an open heart in using our home to serve people in need of shelter or healing. Number 61, I am happy to add someone to our family temporarily in order to provide a helping or healing ministry. Number 62, I have a knack for helping strangers feel at home. Number 63, I am comfortable with graciously providing food and lodging to those in need. Number 64, I show a genuine graciousness towards and appreciation of each guest at my or our home. Number 65, I am concerned to read, study, and learn biblical truths. I am concerned, I desire, I am passionate to read, study, and learn biblical truths. Number 66, Paul's concern in Colossians 1:10 that I be increasing in the knowledge of God is something I take seriously. 67, I am moved to study Scripture so as to be unashamed in accurately handling it. 65, right down on the next page, I long to share with others the biblical insights that I discover. Number 69, I learn biblical truths easily. Number 70, I readily acquire and master facts and principles of biblical truths. 71, I have the ability to discover biblical principles for myself. 72, I have insights into biblical truths that bring conviction to my mind and heart. I have insights into biblical truths that bring conviction to my mind and heart. 73, I find it easy to motivate others to follow through on a ministry project. 74, I would enjoy guiding a group of people to achieve their desired ends. 75, I often assume responsibility when no official leaders are designated. 76, I am willing to persuade others to move towards biblical objectives. 77, I usually know where I'm going and can influence other Christians in that direction. 78, normally my Christian character, lifestyle, and behavior seem to motivate others to follow me. My Christian character, lifestyle, and behavior seem to motivate others to follow me. 79, others follow me because I have a knowledge of or skill effectively used in serving my church. 80, answer on the next page, I am able to adjust my leadership style so it is appropriate for the maturity of those working with me. Number 81, I hurt for others who are poverty-stricken, physically sick, a stranger, or imprisoned. I hurt for others who are poverty-stricken, physically sick, or a stranger, or imprisoned. 82, I desire to do acts of love and kindness for those who cannot or will not return them. I desire to do acts of love and kindness for those who cannot or will not return them. 83, I am content to serve the suffering or the undeserving. I am content to serve the suffering or undeserving. 84, I am cheerful, available, involved in hospital, prison, or similar visitation. Cheerful, available, involved in hospital, prison, or similar visitation. 85, I work joyfully with persons ignored by the majority. I work joyfully with persons ignored by the majority. 86, I would enjoy visiting in hospitals or elderly homes and being an agent of blessing to others. 87, I have the ability to spare other persons from punishment or penalties they justly deserve. 88, I am able to talk cheerfully with prisoners or lonely shut-ins. 89, I am concerned to verbalize biblical truths which build, encourage, and comfort groups of believers. Able to verbalize biblical truths which build, encourage, comfort groups of believers. Number 90, I enjoy sharing a hymn, a lesson, or a Bible interpretation so that all believers present may learn. 91, I prefer congregational preaching which explains and applies biblical truths. 92, on the next page, I am not afraid to speak boldly about evil in worldly systems such as government. 93, telling forth for God by instructing and warning large numbers of his people is my style. Telling forth for God by instructing and warning large groups of his people is my style. 94, I communicate truths of God in a clear, compelling fashion to large audiences. 95, I proclaim God's truth in an inspiring and enthusiastic way. 96, I have been able to reveal God's future events in general terms through Bible teaching. I am able to reveal God's future events in general terms through Bible teaching. 97, I am ready to commit myself to care for the spiritual welfare of a group of young Christians. I am ready to commit myself, 97, to care for the spiritual welfare of a group of young Christians. 98, I sense a need to select disciples and equip them to serve one another. 99, I enjoy having responsibility for the growth of a group of Christians. I enjoy having responsibility for the growth of a group of Christians. 100, I am concerned to guard my group of Christian followers from those who name themselves as enemies of Christians. I am concerned to guard my group of Christian followers from those who name themselves as enemies of Christians. 101, it is important to me to know and to be well known by followers I serve and guide. It is important to me to know and be well known by followers I serve and guide. 102, I sacrificially give of myself for young or straying Christians. 103, I am able to feed followers in Christ by guiding them through selected Bible passages. Able to feed followers by guiding them through selected Bible passages. Getting close. I am able to restore persons, number 104, who have wandered away from Christian community. I am able to restore persons who have wandered away from Christian community. 105, I usually have a readiness to take on helping roles. I have a readiness to take on helping roles. 106, I would rather be a supportive background person than a performer. I would rather be a supportive background person than a performer. Number 107, I'm satisfied to express my skills by helping others who are in charge. By helping others who are in charge. 108, I'm content to perform menial jobs or jobs considered unimportant by other people. I'm content to perform menial jobs or considered unimportant by other people. 109, I enjoy typing, filing, recording minutes, or similar church-related tasks. 110, ushering, cleaning, or supportive tasks in a church-related facility suit me well. 111, I am able to be a teacher's aide in a class or to do similar helping tasks. 112, I can assist key leaders who pray and minister the word, like in Acts 5, by taking some of their other responsibilities. 113, I have a strong conviction that biblical truths should be understood accurately and be applied to current living. 114, I enjoy knowing the meaning of key words in Scripture. 115, on the next page, I believe that the teaching, learning process is vital to local church growth. Last page. 116, I have a strong concern to relate biblical truths to life. 117, I have the ability to concisely instruct listeners in the precise meaning of words and passages in Scripture. Number 118, I explain well the New Testament to others. I explain well the New Testament to others. 119, when I communicate biblical truths to others, it affects changes in knowledge, attitudes, values, or conduct. 120, I can make difficult biblical truths understandable to others. 121, I have reverence for God and His will for my life. I have a reverence for God and His will for my life. 122, I effectively solve problems using biblical principles. 122. 123, others often ask me for suitable ideas or alternatives. Others often ask me for workable ideas and alternatives. 124, I am concerned that interpersonal relationships be peaceful, reasonable, and without partiality of hypocrisy. Concern for interpersonal relationships to be peaceable, reasonable, without partiality of hypocrisy. 125, I apply biblical truths effectively in my life. 126 answers on the next page. I make what appears to be correct decisions for my life. (127) The choices I make for activities in Christian service usually work well. Choices I make for activities in Christian service usually work well. 128. My nominations for church positions often prove to be good selections. Now, you don't have to tear this off, and don't tear this off yet. You're going to give that to us. We're going to go ahead and score it for you, and then because we have your contact information that you've put on the front, we will get you the results, how that works out. And if you notice, the reason that it often asks you maybe 5 questions that are sort of in the same grouping is because the first one might be absolutely true of you and the next 4 are not. And when you put all 5 of those answers together, you realize, okay, that's not a spiritual gift, but I do kind of have that leaning in this area. And what we're going to find in this, in my experience, has been, depending on your personality style, you might be the person that sees everything great all the time, and so your numbers might be high, or you might be a person that has kind of a low opinion, a humble opinion of yourself, and so your numbers are all kind of low. You never put anything above a 3, but that means you also put lots of 1s down. But what's going to happen is that we're going to see a rise and flow. It's not about the score as much as it is the scoring. Okay? So we'll be able to see when we score this, there'll be 1, 2, or 3 spiritual gift tendencies that will pop up above the others. And so what we'll come back to you with is, these appear to be where your spiritual gifts lie. And then what you do then, none of this is this is just a tool. But then you begin to go, oh, okay, I think I'm spiritually gifted in these 1, 2, or 3 areas. And then you start trying to work in those areas. You might come back and go, nope, that wasn't it. But it is important for us to see that. So then after that, these questions here: my current vocation, other jobs I have experience in, special talents and skills that I have, I've taught a class or a seminar on, and I feel my most valuable personal asset is. If you can answer those for us sometime today before you turn this in, that would be great. It doesn't, again, need to be detailed. It's just jot a couple of things down in there, and it just kind of helps us see who you are. You can answer that personality and experience thing. We've also the personal testimony side of it. When you get an opportunity to do that, that would be great and helpful for us. The DISC behavior survey, that you probably can do easily. And what that is going to help us with is it helps us see how you respond in relational conflict. And I'll give you an example, and this won't surprise any of you. When I do these DISC profiles on myself, I rate high D, which is the dominant side, higher I, the influential side, and then the steady and the compliant fall down below that. What that means is, as an influencer, I would like to convince you that this is the right thing to do. But if it has to be done, I will tell you to do it. Okay? So I'm a high I first. I would prefer. Now, I know people that are just a D. You just do it because I said so. But they're not. So, it wouldn't surprise you to know that my wife rates high on the S, on the steadiness. That's just, and she rates high on the I underneath that when she's taken this before. So that doesn't surprise you that she's just steady, and she's going to try to encourage you to do the right thing. There are some of you in this room, and you know exactly who you are, that are high C. You want it done right. You want it correct. You want it. Why did you have that comma left out in there? That bothered some of you, or some of you would be the opposite of that. Why would you put a comma there? It depends on, because you're very conscientious. You want everything to be exactly right all the time, very compliant, so that just helps us, again, see who you are. And spiritual gifting versus talents, it's very good for us to see that. I'll give you an example for some of you that are on the music side, been around a little while. If Michael W. Smith, who is talented as a musician, an old school guy like Steve Green, it would not be hard for us to imagine that their strong spiritual gifts, though they are both talented musicians, I would put my money on that Stephen Curtis Chapman has a spiritual gift of exhortation and prophecy, and from the standpoint of forth-telling, truth-telling, and that Michael W. Smith has a spiritual gift of encouragement. Why do I know that? Look at the music they've done over the years. They're both talented, but the style of music is different, probably based on their spiritual gifting. Okay? So you may have a talent for this, that, or the other, but you got a spiritual gift for complete this thing over here. We want to help you take those talent, those experience, those backgrounds, and put them in a spiritual realm where it fits who you are and what you're called to and what you're gifted to, because two people with the same talents are going to do things differently on a spiritual level because based on their spiritual gifts. So that's why this is important for us. Any questions? And so now I want to do something, and this is where it kind of gets a little wide open. We have a phrase that I wrote on the board in the office that says, "Indecision killed the squirrel." Did you hear that? Indecision killed the squirrel. My boys and I were driving, when I was at New Life, we were driving from Ferguson up Washington, and we passed across 270, and we're driving up, and this squirrel came out. And he got it past us, but he looked at us and he ran back past us. Then he looked and he ran one more time. And then he went, boom. And I said to the boys, indecision killed the squirrel. So the things we are doing today are about being decisive and about having a path that we go and moving in that direction. So indecision killed the squirrel. You can quote me on that. Let me give you, so let's go back to, I'm getting ready to divide you up into some groups of teams. And in the elder group, we have 6 elders and myself. In the elder group, 4 of those 5 groups, Mark, you can help me if I'm wrong on this, 4 of those 5 groups have been identified as an elder that will be kind of lead responsibility on those. If I'm not mistaken, discipleship, Chris Teague has taken that, if I'm right on that. The Worship Sunday experience, Mark has taken the lead on that. Fellowship side, Bruce Summers has taken the lead on that. And the outreach and service side is John Ryan, is that right? Yeah, with the deacons, yeah, right. So those 4. The evangelism and mission side is interestingly open right now as far as an elder lead on it, and then the teams that come in that. And so, but what I want us to do here in just a moment is we're going to divide and so we can kind of put these, let's see, Mark and Bruce. And what's going to happen maybe in a minute is you're going to get to a different table that you're at than you're at right now. You can take that. I wasn't going to reach across the table at it, put it there in the middle of your table. Why don't you, I just went.
Chris's.
Yeah. Clay, why don't you ask Clay to kind of take on that right now? And yes, one of you will have to move. And John, here's yours. And then I'm going to, for right now, I'm going to put this one right here. I'm going to put this one right here. And if you think about these teams, and some of the teams that fall under these groups, so you got administration, don't worry about that one, but you've got evangelism and missions, some of these kinds of teams. And by the way, anybody know what JJSE means? In evangelism and missions?
JJSC, what would you do?
No, that would be WWJD. See, if I give you the first one, you'll know what they all are. Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the ends of the earth. All right? So evangelism and missions is focused on locally, regionally, to the hard places, that's Samaria, the places we don't want to go, the places we don't like, and then the ends of the earth. And so evangelism and missions in those 4 areas. So, and then fellowship, community groups, prayer groups, men's events, women's events, meals, gatherings, and then discipleship, Bible study groups, youth, children, in the flow, precept, mentorships, assessment, and alignment. That's what we've just started in the spiritual gift stuff that we've just done. That falls under discipleship. So if when you made your list earlier of teams, if you fall, you may have more teams than you're involved in, but I want you to take your primary one, and when we break up here in a second, I want you to go to one of those groups, and we're going to do I'm going to give you some instruction. You're going to do some brainstorming, some writing, some idea things in those areas, and group leads in those areas. If you have team leads specifically already in some of these teams that fall into your group, identify that in the things that you write and put down. We had these teams represented, and we had these team leads represented. And then you're also going to have an opportunity to maybe suggest we should be doing X, Y, and Z. One of the things, and this is going to be the hard thing, and listen to me. Please listen to what I say, not what I don't say, and make an assumption. But one of the hard things in a church is constantly restructuring our core activities, one, around our vision and mission, but two, around our grouping of people. There may be something that a church did forever, but we don't have people that do that anymore. God has not spiritually called and gifted people in our area to do those things, or maybe some people are not involved anymore. And so it's okay, some of our teams, as long as we're occupying our purpose, it's okay for some teams to just be done with. We don't do that anymore. And so one of the things that the groups will constantly be doing, and a little bit of it will happen today, is going, maybe we don't have the people to do this anymore. So maybe we either need to put that on the bench for a little while, or maybe we need to just say thank you very much and move that grouping away. We don't do that anymore. And that's going to be the hard kind of conversation for us to have. And one quick identifier is if you personally are involved in 3 or 4 ministries, that's too many. And so you either need to find somebody to do the things that maybe oftentimes people with the spiritual gift of encouragement get involved doing stuff because somebody else is not doing it, but it's not where they're spiritually gifted, nor where they're passionate, nor where they're called, but they just want to help. And that's okay, but it can't be done long term. And so I try to encourage people to get down to doing 1 or 2 ministries. That's it. And particularly on a lead standpoint, lead one, you could serve in another, but then find somebody else to do the other things. And so that's going to be part of the conversation, perhaps, that you have here in a moment. Let me bring this back up. I want to put this up so that you can see it. Let me give you some words. So these kind of 4 groupings of what we want to be doing is establishing or enlisting people, ministers, equip them, which we could even move enable up there, but when I say it down here, I'm meaning more like it's one thing to teach people how to do it, but then we got to let them do it. Okay? So enable them, energize them, empower them, and then engage. And we want to get to that place where we let you do what you do and we stay out of it.
2 quick things with this. If prayer ministry, if that's one of the ones you're interested in, that's not going to be under any of these 5. Just let Pastor Jim or I know. So pick a different one today and work on that. But if that's something you're interested in, that's definitely a team we'd love to get up and running.
Yes.
Let us know. So that doesn't have a space.
So make sure you get that on page 2. Right. And put a big circle around it on page 2 with a marking as to either you've done it before and an exclamation point there that you'd like to be involved in that now. Thank you very much. That's important. Yes, on the Table Talk page, because that's something then that we want to get that group, that team active.
And then the other thing is if you're looking for a specific ministry team and you don't know where it falls, come find me. I have it on an Excel sheet here and I can point you which table you can be on.
Great. That's fantastic. Thank you. So again, you heard maybe you heard me use this term earlier, and this is what's trying to happen here is we want to get you into least common denominator kind of activities, being that where are we most the same in the ministry things that we do. And so when you get to, so in a moment, if you need to use the restroom or something, you can do that quickly. We've got about an hour and 20 minutes or so together before we'll try to be done and out. But before we kind of make that shift, so we're going to do this, then we're going to take a break. If you need to use the restroom, fine, and get around one of these tables. If you need 2 tables around that area, then do that, and we'll see then where we end up. So we got an evangelism table here. We've got discipleship back there. All right. All right, so Mark's going to be up here with the Worship Sunday experience. And what else? Service is here and fellowship is here. All right, so there's discipleship. And when you get back in those groups, I'm going to write these things up here, but I'm going to give you some assignments, and I want you to begin to working on those as group 1, group 2, and there's kind of 2 things that I'm going to have you do, and I'll write that down here, but I'll tell you right now, I want you to identify and discuss if and how you move in regards to family, glory, story, love, serve, transform. This is where it's so key. Every one of those teams needs to be doing family, glory, story, love, serve, transform. Now, naturally, some teams are going to be more inclined to one of those words or 2 of those words or whatever, but all of them need to be moving in that direction. And so if we can get you to a place where everybody is doing those 6 things in their realm, guess what we'll do? We'll look up and go, well, look at that. We all got there, okay? That's the key. That's where we want to get, that we're all moving toward family, glory, story. So you're gonna identify what's our key, unique areas in those 6 words, and where do we need to be moving in those areas. And then I want you to brainstorm and plan activities, actions, mission objectives in regards to vision and mission fulfillment for your group and for the teams within your group. And group leads, if you're only represented by a couple of teams, then just focus there. And then also maybe ask the question, what teams do we need that we don't have here today? Before we do that, Jeff, I'm going to ask you to lead us in a time for God's inspiration and our devotion to these things, and then we'll break. All right, so make a move to one of these tables. I'm going to write the instructions up here on the board for the things that you need to do. And we will, at 11:10, we're going to come back together and I want some reports. All right? Okay. If we can come on back in and we'll try to honor time commitments we've had. And so I want us just to kind of hit a couple of things, get a little bit of report going on. So this is a good beginning, and yet this is just a beginning. So it's a good beginning. Some of the on the assessment side, certainly if you're a multitasker, this would be a spot where you could be finishing up some of that while we're talking through some of these things. And again, make sure that we need to get from you page 2, the Table Talk page. We need to get from you that list, and that page needs to have your contact information written on it. And then if you can finish the shape assessment, serve assessment, with those extra pieces with your contact information on here. And you can just set those on that back middle table where Miss Courtney has been earlier. If you'd set those back there before you leave, that would be great. So I asked you to want to kind of bring you back to a couple of these things, and notice again, hopefully as you began to talk about some of this stuff, you thought, okay, we have these certain teams that are involved, and maybe you said, okay, we got certain teams identified, but they're not very well established as far as maybe people group, they've lost some. Or you identified some things that maybe we need to do. That's one of the things we did, is we said, okay, we got these things that are involved in this venue, but we're really needing these things. And we came up with a couple others. And so then it comes back to, okay, so we got to enlist, equip, energize, and engage. Those are the key words there: enlist, equip, energize, engage. And so we have taken some steps. So let me share with you what we did, and that'll kind of give you an idea what I'd like to hear from you that you did. So on the evangelism and missions group and team, so on our sheet, and hopefully we'll get something like this from your group, we circled that we were the evangelism missions team group, and then I wrote the words family, glory, story, love, serve, transform, and we kind of circled the key of those 6 words that fit with what we do. And I expected story to be there and expected transform to be there, and we circled both of them. But Desi pointed out the word family and circled it, and he took it in a place that I hadn't thought about, that then fed much of what we talked about after that, was the family side of evangelism. That it starts in the home. And it starts as moms and dads, or just moms, or just dads, and how they know how to share, and even took it into a controversial step of there may be homes that are made up of not just a mom or just a dad, but moms and dads. And our job is to bring the story of Jesus to them, and then let God do the transformation as we bring Jesus to them. And so we then we wrote down teams that we have now, teams that are needed, and then some training that we need to do. And so we're talking about evangelism and missions, and active groups right now, of course, OCC and Eyeglass Ministry have done things that are involved in missions. And so we talked about that, and then the puppet ministry. And one of the things that we talked about again, and this I hope you'll see in your groups, is that your team within your group has a finite number of people that are on the team, but that doesn't mean that that's the only people at First Baptist Ferguson that do those activities. So it's expected that your team is involving the church in the things that you're trying to do and getting them involved. And so while, for instance, the puppet ministry has a very specific thing that they do, and we talked about, Steve, that, there are going to be people that are like, I don't want to stand behind a curtain and go like this. But guess what? There's a place of evangelism opportunity for other people to come do and be with you, whether it's set up and takedown, but then just being around and available to talk with people that are, you got the guy back here that is going like this because his kid's up there watching the puppets. Well, you could go have a conversation with that guy. It's crazy stuff, isn't it? Yeah, well, I'm just here because of my kids. Yeah, I know, I got kids, And then before long, you're having a conversation about Jesus. So I'm sure you would love for people like that. And so it's about enlisting, equipping, energizing, and engaging. And so getting people involved in what you do. They don't have to be involved in leadership, but they can be involved in action and in activity. And so doing those kind of things. And so out of that conversation, then we talked about teams needed, and we talked about that we need a family evangelism engagement of some kind, and we got to talk again about that. And then out of Desi's heart and passion, he talked about, we have some share teams that from time to time go out and share their faith in groups of 2 and others, and so we talked about some of that stuff. And then we're going to need to find some local mission as well as global mission engagement opportunities. And Mr. Bruce, I'll put you on the spot. November 11th, which would be men's breakfast, we don't have anything scheduled for that day, do we? Other than men's breakfast? Yes, okay. Okay, so I'm totally putting you on the spot, and it's not fair, but we would like the men's breakfast to host an evangelism breakfast that day for everyone. And so it would be the men, and we would be doing it, but and what we would do is go just a little bit longer, not a lot, but a little bit longer, and we would do some training on how to share your faith. And so that's something that we want to make our first act, if you will. That gives us a little bit of time to get it ready. But so November 11th would be an evangelism focus, and the other churches that are involved, we would certainly welcome them to come and be a part of that, teach their people how to share their faith, and we would just need them to sign up, so that we know and can prepare for food, So, and by the way, every time I told them this, every time I lead a soul winning training class, church people get saved. Every time. I've had deacons and deacons' wives get saved. Because when you start breaking down your testimony and you see a big gap in the salvation side, and every time. And so, anyway, all right, so that's what we did in our side, and we now have much work to follow up. So in light of that, one of the other groups, on your mark, say go. All right, so that's a love and service action there on that side. And by the way, as you were saying it out loud, on the vision side, family, glory, story. If we are a diverse family of Christ followers, that first piece accomplishes the whole thing. Without that first piece, the other two are stunted. But if we are a diverse family, that is the glory of God. That is Revelation 7:9, at the throne, every race, tribe, color, and tongue. And that is telling the story of why God has done everything He has done. The reason Jesus left heaven and came to earth and lived a life and was crucified, buried, resurrected, ascended, and is coming again, that is all because of the desire for a diverse family. So if we do the diverse family, we are telling the story of God. We are declaring His glory, showing His glory. Amen? All right. Well, I'm going to preach. You want to be here tomorrow. You need to be here tomorrow. You need to be here tomorrow. All right. So, Ms. Courtney, what we have with about 40 in here today? Is that what yeah. So this is great. I appreciate you being here. These words here, enlist, equip, enable, or energize, engage, those on that first one and the third one, if I were to pull out, if enlist and energize would be our key words. Enlist, equip, energize, engage. That's where we go. So I want you to be asking questions, and so I put this up here. It's for the group leads, but then it's for the rest of you that serve on a team to be saying to the group lead, hey, what's our next step? And so, so make sure that I want you to have two next steps. One is to meet again, whenever, wherever, however you want to meet. Get your group together with your teams. And you also probably identified people that are not here that represent teams that fit into your group. And so when you meet soon, you need to get those people involved. And so then plan an activity that is specifically designed toward family, glory, story, love, serve, transform, that would be fed by your group. Okay, so, and for us, the first thing that we planned is to do the men's breakfast hosting an evangelism training workshop. And by the way, you should know, and this is the way that I do evangelism training, is there will be multiple ways that you can share your faith explained that day. I am not the kind that goes, this is the way you should share your faith. If you really know Jesus, you would share your faith like this. And I'm like, whatever. If you really play golf, there's several ways you can play it. One of them is really poorly and yet have a great time at it. And then, but there's different ways to swing. There's different ways to do. The idea is get around the golf course, and enjoy yourself. And so when we've got an activity planned, and then identify what new teams do you need in your group. And I would just say gently that also recognize, are there teams in your group that really have served their purpose and now need to be repurposed into some area in your group that more fits with where we are and where we're equipped with people. And then enlist, equip, energize, engage. So the key here is communication from the group lead to the team members to the people, and get people involved. When you guys talk about welcome, that's a key thing. It's like, okay, we've talked about this, and now we need a welcome team leader, and then we need to find other people that would be team, and get the people involved in doing what the group, and we talked about that evangelism goes across every area of what we do. And so the evangelism group's job is to get the church involved in evangelism in a way that fits every personality. One other thing you can do, make sure you turn in your table talk page with your contact info on it. Turn in your assessment info, and you can put that on the back table back there. You want them to just put it in that yellow, Courtney? You want them to just put it in that yellow box?
Jen stole it.
Oh, okay. All right. So make sure you turn that in there. We will score that. We will get that information to you soon. Hey, look, listen right here, and I'll finish with this. Your job tomorrow and every other time you talk to anybody that's not here right now is to say, have you filled out a spiritual gifts inventory? We're very quickly, probably later this week, if not very quickly after that, we will have a link on the website that you can click on and you can sit down. Obviously, as we did, it takes about 20 minutes to do it, but where people will be able to go online and do what we did today. And we need to be asking people, have you done that? Hey, it's really important. Take some time to do that. And the more you help us do that, we're going to get to a place where then guess what? As a group, when you're like, man, we need somebody with a spiritual gift of this, who has a background in that, and we'll be able to go, I got 5 names. Here you go. All right? And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right? So this is very good, and it was actually a year ago last weekend when we did our last Leadersheep training time, and so we will try to schedule another one for the spring, but Steve, would you close our time before the Lord?